for 3.5. But I am super glad to be back here. Let's see. Well, we found our wireless headset. We will see if it has a short in it or not. So I might have to go to my room, but we'll see. Anyway, hello, Soul Center. I'm super glad to be back, and I think I am going to switch over because. All right. We will not be thwarted. So welcome. Anybody here for the first time? Anybody? We got one? Okay, welcome. Welcome to Soul Center. We are part of the International Spiritual Center Association and Communities affiliate of the truth teachings, and you've heard me say many, many, many times, that golden thread truth teachings that are found in all of the religions and all of the indigenous teachings around the world. The truth teachings in that golden thread transcend dogma, they transcend tradition, that they are rooted and only grounded in the absolute truth, the truth that sets us free, the truth teachings that are found in the mystical realms. And we also are very, I'd say we're somewhat unique in that we cultivate the responsibility. Everybody sitting here, all those who are streaming in, we cultivate a personal responsibility for you to cultivate those truth teachings through and as your life. That is what we call upon you to do. The Holy Spirit of the living God, the God of love, peace, grace, beauty, wisdom, and truth, that is omnipotent, omnipresent, and everywhere, in every space and place, that presence is calling on it from you too. So you might as well acquiesce at some point, because it's going to happen no matter what. You will be realized. We know that each and every one of us is born in the image and likeness of God, and our job is to cultivate that into a realization of heaven on earth. That's our job. Those are our teachings. Those are our beliefs. And everybody has everything they need. There's not a chosen one. There's not a chosen few. There is not only several enlightened masters to achieve that nirvana. It is you. And as in Kim's class that's going to be coming up, this thing called You, that I highly recommend everybody get on that Zoom class. It's a Zoom class. You can do it from home, and even if you are traveling, you can do it while you're traveling, because it's on Zoom. So go for it. And it is probably the easiest book to read. It's short, it's sweet, it's simple, the easiest Ernest Holmes book to read. So I would highly recommend that you get in on that class. You will not regret it. And also just one other announcement, we've got a sound bath coming up August, it's going to be after service on August 4th, so if you guys are interested, it's probably going to sell out. It'll be right here after service, and that'll be coming up. I don't know if we're taking registrations yet. Not yet, but we're going to, so just save the date, mark your calendar for that experience. And again, we're part of those truth teachings, and as the theme of the month comes to a close, willingness and wisdom has been our theme. Willingness being a huge key, willing to grow and transform. And as always, I always recommend and suggest that we choose to grow and transform and heal through love and through joy, through peace and through grace. That is a very good way to do it. The topic for today is history and mystery, the evolution of you and the elevation of you, because we are to be elevated. Wherever you are in your journey right now, I can tell you the one thing that is eternally true is you will expand. You may or may not do it in this lifetime. I would like you to do it in this lifetime, because expansion in good into the greatest, grandest vision and version of you is a magnificent thing. As some of you know, I just got back from a little over 3 weeks abroad. I spent a lot of time with dead people. First I was in Ireland, where we spent some time in some ancient Neolithic tombs, where they celebrated the transition of people into higher realms of consciousness. Now we know in our teachings, there's only one thing that ever dies, and it's not you and it's not me. The only thing that ever dies are lies. Those are the only things that ever die. They transmute out of our beingness, and they liberate us into new consciousness. We do change form from one body to the next, from one life to the next, but there is something that is always seeking to evolve itself. And then as I migrated over to Egypt, got to go into some more ancient tombs and see some more dead people. But what was amazing about the trip, so for those of you, I'm going to give you a quick crash course, because most of you know that my whole world is the world of self-awareness and divine energy medicine and becoming aware of who you are, beginning to look through the owner's manual of your spiritual evolution, of knowing what this physical body, emotional body, and mental body, how all roads lead to God, all roads lead to the infinite grace and beauty of oneness with spirit and oneness with each other. And it is blissful and it is beautiful unless you're not having that experience. And if you're not having that experience, then we need some tweaking. There's some tweaking that needs to be done. Because God is good. Life is good. The only thing that is not good is when you are not having that experience. So yes, do we have health challenges once in a while? Do we have financial challenges, creative challenges? Do we have, what other challenges? Relationship challenges. Do we ever have those things? Yes, we have them. And those are indicators, if we're having a challenge, that something is seeking to emerge. And as I was in Egypt, what was wild about, because to me, everything is about the law of creation. When you're in the human form, the law of creation is what is seeking to be revealed to and through and as our lives. And that little one back there knows the truth. And that is why they're saying, that is true. The law of creation is a combination of the law of emergence, and it is in conjunction with your purpose. All of us have a purpose. There's something that wants to emerge and express itself to, through, and as you into the world. And your purpose is completely united with that which will set you free. Your purpose is your soul's way of liberating you into the oneness of who you are. So you want to become compliant and aware of what your purpose is, and it has a million different ways it can unfold benevolently through you. So the law of creation takes your purpose into and through the law of emergence, and it begins to express through you. And as we were in Egypt, the part that some of you may or may not know, but there is a culture, a civilization of the ancient Egyptians, and there's ancient people from around the world that all knew this, that in ancient Egypt, along the Nile, which starts in the southern portion of Egypt, and it runs all the way up to the Mediterranean. So it's an anomaly out of itself, because it is a south to north running river in the northern hemisphere, which is a little more unusual than not. And all along the way, there are sacred sites and sacred temples that were built, including the pyramids, that represent the different chakras of our energy body. And these people built huge, enormous temples and sanctuaries that were on the ley lines of Mother Earth, in alignment with all of the different chakra centers. So in the microcosmic world, you've got the whole universe right here in your energy body. And in the macrocosmic world, you have it on Mother Earth, and as well as in galaxies and nebulas, or in the furthest reaches of the farthest places of the universe. So there is a microcosmic, macrocosmic expression of a reflective universe that is happening to and through and as everything and everyone. And what is fascinating is, so the Nile represents the spine, and so the Kundalini energy rising, so it's going from the south to the north, is kind of really interesting how that is a reflection of that. And then we, on our tour, we went from the crown chakra down to the root chakra, and we made our way all the way up, visiting all of the sacred sites, and it was phenomenal. It was incredible. And what you do when you go into these sacred sites is you start to feel the energy. And Andrea, you were with me during this tour, and it was amazing. And so you get to feel the energy. Now, you don't need to go to Egypt for this to happen. You can do it right here. We can do it. We've been doing it this morning, meditation. We were checking in. We got connected with our root chakra, our 10th chakra, our earth star, our soul star. There's a flow of energy that wants to flow through you and express, connected to your purpose. And again, your purpose is what pulls you. It's the North Star that allows you to commune and become one with spirit. And the byproduct of that is bliss. Bliss is the byproduct. That's a pretty good byproduct. It's not like some of those pharmaceuticals where the byproduct might be depression, suicidal thoughts, things like of that nature. No, this is bliss, this is grace, this is beauty beyond your wildest dreams. This is the very nature of the divine. And so we got to go up through these temples and through these vortices and get to experience amazing. Now, the part that was amazing, actually, is that there was a culture, there was a civilization that dedicated their lives. Because these temples didn't go up, overnight. They took decades, if not hundreds of years, for some of them to be finished. So people spent their lives in devotion to the law of creation. That is how life works. And so there's one temple in particular that harnessed all of it in one place, and it showed how the law of creation actually works, how the energy, so there's an energy that comes through your soul star. So in the microcosmic world of just you, the divine world of just you, there's that impulse that wants to come through. And our job is to not get distracted by things that are going on in life. It sometimes can be very challenging not to get distracted. And we want to make sure that we have a practice in place where we're in devotion to your soul. Some people, we want to say devotion to God. And so, for those of us who may be, familiar with the old paradigm idea as though God is some bearded man in the sky that may or may not grant things to us that lives outside of our beingness, we know that God is an omnipotent, omnipresent, blissful, graceful, omniamorous love beyond our wildest dreams that indwells within us. And our job is to reveal that, to reveal it into the world, to be in the world, but not of the world. As the master teacher Jesus says, we know that Jesus was a master teacher who embodied that and said, these and greater things ye shall do, meaning that ye shall do it. Do it. It was a charge. It wasn't just a cute little saying. It was a charge, and besides, it's going to happen no matter what. So we might as well get on board. So we want to be mindful of distractions and remembering that, as it says in the Course in Miracles, the only constant purpose can endow events with a stable meaning that we want to stay connected to our purpose and not get distracted from it, because if you allow your purpose to call you, it will pull you in, as Reverend Michael often says, to be pulled by the vision of your soul. It will pull you into a greater and greater. So one of the questions we want to ask is, what is my purpose? And that's not a one-time question. That's an everyday question. What's seeking to emerge through my beingness that wants to be experienced and expressed in benevolent and beautiful ways that is in connection with my purpose? Now, our purpose is multidimensional. We are multidimensional beings from a land of singularity, meaning that we come from the singularity of the divine, but we have multi-dimensional ways of expressing it once you come into form. Once you come into human form, there are multi-dimensional ways. So as people start to explore, you get to get into more of the divine phenomena of multi-dimension, meaning that when you move into the mystical aspects of astral projection and remote viewing, and you begin to let go of the linear and the dense. And so you become lighter, not only in luminosity, but in kind of a weightlessness in your beingness, where you start to feel your connection to all sentient beings around the planet, where you know that there's no me, there's only a we. There's a we that comes together collectively. And so we want to celebrate that. And so that one of the questions that we want to have in our practice is, what is seeking to emerge through me for my purpose at this particular point in my journey? So that's a daily question, and it always will reveal to you something magnificent. And of course, we are going to have to develop our abilities to hear, feel, see, smell, taste the presence of the divine through us, because our clairaudience will awaken, our clairvoyance will awaken, our clairsentience will awaken, our clairolfactory will awaken. These are ways that we begin to interpret and understand the language of the divine, or more intimately, the language of your soul. And it's something that we want it to evolve us. We want ourselves to evolve again. Evolution it's going to happen no matter what. So we want to open to that. And remember that we don't want to get distracted. So little things that can distract us. For example, there was on our tour, I got to witness, there was, every day not every day, quite often we'd get on these big buses and we'd head out. And a lot of times people got stuck in kind of a routine. And one of those routines was that some people on the bus really love to sit in the same seat all the time. And other people kind of like wanted to move around and try things. And so one day I was sitting there in a different seat. Some days I'd sit in the same seat, and some days I'd sit in a different seat. I couldn't just see what it was, Well, anyway, one woman had been sitting in the same seat all the time. And then one day she got on the bus and she noticed somebody was sitting in her seat. And so she looked at the woman and she's like, had just absolute shock on her face, like, how dare you be sitting in my seat? And she's like, well, you know, the seats aren't assigned. And she got so angry, and she started cussing this other woman out. In a spiritual way. So I was kind of surprised a little bit, you know, because we're a big spiritual group. And so she's yelling at her. Now, this is a distraction. Because what had happened was, she just simply, and this is where we don't want to lose track of what's actually going on here. So she did get comfortable in a particular situation. We tend to get comfortable in particular situations. Somebody came along and rocked her world by sitting in her seat. And so she got angry and started to chew the other person out. And this is where the distraction starts to come in. Because the misinterpretation, now what ended up happening is she saw the person in her seat. It pushed a button within her trauma body that she had been disrespected, unheard, ununderstood. The other person, now if the other person was just a teeny tiny bit, a little more conscious about this thing, because then she started to lash back at the person, and there was an argument that ensued. She would have realized that if you're going to be in your Don Miguel Ruiz hat and not take things personally, that it had nothing to do with her stealing this seat, and she could have gone straight to a place of compassion and understood, oh, I hit a nerve somewhere in there, and she could have, but she didn't. And so this argument ensued, and some nasty names were ensued, and then anyway, I ended up giving her my seat because I just wanted there to be peace. So there was some peace for the moment, but the distraction was that she wasn't taking responsibility for her own energy body. So when you feel hurt, it is never anybody else's fault. You cannot be hurt by anything or anyone unless you have something within your cellular memory that allows you to be hurt. And the only way you can allow yourself to be hurt is if you've made a choice somewhere along the line to participate in separation from others and separation from the divine, to believe that something is working against you. The universe only works for you. God only works for you. And the only time we experience pain, suffering, or hurt is when we think otherwise. And when I say think, I'm talking about a belief within our core. So that woman really thought that the other woman had violated her to her core, and it did hurt. So what our responsibility as a bystander would also be, there's nothing neutral in life. Nothing is neutral. Everything has a consequence. So if you're observing something, just by the mere fact that I was observing it, I'm now having responsibility. And our community cultivates responsibility. Now I could be like, oh, those two are having an issue. I'm moving to the back of the bus. No, my job is to bless them and to call them into the highest, greatest, and grandest vision and versions of themselves. Now that may or may not yield an immediate response. Because usually on a scale of 1 to 10, when you're triggered at a 10 and you just really want to punch someone in the face, you might not quite be available to that vibration just yet. But when you calm down, the prayer that has been issued, so my prayer for them goes out and it starts to wash and matriculate through their energy body. And my prayer for them is a prayer for me, because there's no prayer for someone else. Any prayer you pray for someone else is a prayer for yourself. And anything that you see is a reflection of something you need to know, a wisdom that needs to be cultivated within ourselves. And so the parts that were happening here was the one person felt hurt, but the other person then lashed out at the other person, and then the other person got upset too, and then lashed back at the other person, and I'm just observing all of this. So I'm taking responsibility for my role. Eventually, they took responsibilities for their roles. It came a couple days later when the steam had settled. But the major part I want to highlight there is our community is a community of responsibility. We want to take responsibility and know that if you don't take responsibility, what ends up happening is that hurt and those issues will then go dormant. Basically what you've said, if I chew someone out and they chew me out and then I say, okay, well you're wrong and I'm right, I'm just taking all of that energy and that hurt and I'm shoving it down to my cellular memory and I'm letting it sit there and fester. I might not feel that festering at the moment, but it's going to come up at some other point for healing. And I want to to be responsible enough to let that go. Now, what the recommendation would be to reflect back on that day. Now, what could I have done differently? Now that I'm calm, what could I do differently to have cultivated something? And then also use it. Use it as a way to liberate yourself from that hurt. When you have no more hurt whatsoever in your energy body, you will be in the world but not of the world. And that's what we're all seeking, every single one of us. There's not one person. We do not want to be hurt. We do not want to take things personally. We do not want to be incensed. We want to be in an evolutionary impulse, following that evolutionary impulse. And so I just want you to take a moment as we move into a space. We're going to just move into a space of prayer. We're going to move into a space of prayer. And we're also going to move in, before we move there, into... well, let me back up. Let me back up just a quick second. I want to tie together that whole situation with your purpose. So your purpose is that which calls you into the greatest, grandest vision and version of joy, peace, bliss, beauty, and love that you've ever experienced in your life. The distractions are those little things. We want to clean those distractions and not be distracted by them by communing with Spirit in prayer and allowing ourselves to transmute, let that which needs to die, die. The hurt needs to die. Now again, sometimes we're not ready for it, because sometimes where our energy body has been so overwhelmed by the hurt, we just need a moment. So we take a moment, but we have to be very mindful and very deliberate that when we take that moment, that we want to turn that over into the law of transmutation, or the law of elimination. We want to eliminate whatever is within us that would allow us to be prone to being hurt physically, emotionally, mentally, or karmically. We are to relinquish that, to release it, to give it to God, so to speak. When we give something to God, that is just another way of saying transmute something, because in the human experience, the only thing that is going to happen is the part of our trauma body associated with our ego. There is no trauma body except that which is associated with the ego. That gets transmuted, and then we just become a little bit more whole in our divinity. And then we become a little bit more whole in our divinity. And then we become a little bit more whole in our divinity. And then all of a sudden you realize you're not being triggered anymore. You're just able to bless people left and right, because that is one of our responsibilities. Our responsibility is to bless, remembering nothing is neutral. So I'm going to call upon you for two things today. I'm going to call upon you to, A, be committed to the call of your soul and what is seeking to emerge and the law of creation to, through, and as your life. And I'm also going to call upon you to relinquish any distractions that would keep you from that, because all you're doing, there is the false idea of happiness and there is the purest, holiest expression of joy. And when we align with that, you will experience bliss that is more magnificent than you could ever possibly imagine. So we want to open to that. So we're going to just take a moment. I'm going to ask you to bring your hearts to your chest, to your heart center. And we're just going to turn within for just a moment. And with no efforting and no trying, and just imagine from your heart. First off, we're going to allow our hearts to open. Allow your heart to open and breathe. Sometimes people see that like a beautiful emerald green and golden lotus flowers that's petals are opening and stretching to receive the light of the sun and the light of God. We open our hearts. And then I'm going to invite you to imagine a golden thread, a golden strand of light rising from your heart to your soul. It will rise up through your crown and it will make its way to your soul star. That is where the energy of your purpose is. And as we commune the heart and the soul together with the energy of our purpose, without efforting or trying, we're going to ask the question, what is my purpose? The purpose of my soul? What is that which is seeking to be expressed to, through, and as me in this world? How is it to be expressed? And what truth am I to know and am I to embody? And without intellectualizing, without figuring, without analyzing, just bathe in the energy. You may feel it as tingles, you may see it as colors, there may be a knowingness that reveals itself to you just through observation. But do not seek it, just observe it. We are just communing with the call of the soul, our purpose. And as we hold that, as we just bathe in the energy, we marinate it. And I invite you to allow it to marinate like a beautiful elixir of light and energy flowing from your crown down through your torso, your legs, into your feet, making its way down to your earth star. And as we are here, I'm going to invite you to repeat after me. I am profoundly aware of my soul's purpose.
I am profoundly aware of my soul's purpose.
It is easy for me to hear, feel, and know the call of my soul.
It is easy for me to hear, feel, and know the call of my soul.
It is easy for me to hear, feel, know the call of my soul.
It is easy for me to hear, feel, and know the call of my soul.
I always seek and find that which divinely satiates my purpose. I'm going to repeat it again. I always seek and find that which divinely satiates my purpose.
That which divinely satiates my purpose.
And as we stay here once again with our hearts upon our hands upon our hearts, we move into prayer. We move into a prayer field, an expanded field of ever-expanding good. We open our hearts, our bodies, our minds, our souls even more to the call of our soul and to the call of the Holy Spirit of God, to the great remembering of knowing that the omniamorous, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscience, the all-knowingness of God that has every answer to every question, that has the wisdom to every mystery throughout the entire universe, is all within us. We open to that. We know that we are profoundly connected to the call of our soul, and we too today choose to relinquish and release any distractions from that. We relinquish, we surrender, and we allow any hurts to be transmuted with ease and effortlessness, and we allow avalanches of clarity, absolute providence to flow to and through and as our awareness that we are always seeking and finding good in ourselves, that we know ourselves and love ourselves and feel ourselves and see ourselves as God knows, loves, feels, and sees us, that we know, see, feel, and love all others as God sees, knows, and sees them. We allow ourselves to feel and see the presence of the Holy Spirit of God in the individual and in the collective, and we always cultivate this through love and benevolence. We always allow ourselves to expand our capacities to hold more love, more joy, more peace, more prosperity, more success, more wellness and goodness than ever before. It is the divine mandate. It is what we are intended to grow into. It is our birthright. So we claim that today. We claim and know that there is an inner knower within us that knows exactly where to go and what to do. And we align with that more profoundly, always healing, growing, and expanding through love and through joy, knowing this is the very nature of life, this is the very nature of God, this is the very nature of our soul. And it is from that place of good and glory, that we release our prayer. For when we bring it into our awareness, when we speak our word, we release it into the law of benevolent satiation and divine fulfillment, and we allow it to return to us fulfilled, and we do this by placing ourselves in divine receptivity. We are divinely receptive to our good, and we allow it to be. We claim it so in deep and abiding thanksgiving, knowing this is the very nature of life, by saying in acceptance, and so it is, and so I let it be. Amen. 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 Aho. Ashe. Shalom. Hotep. And hallelujah. Yes. All right. It's not hard, I tell you. You just do that on a regular basis where you allow yourself to turn within and have your meditation practice and your prayer practice and open and take personal responsibility for that. And as we do, we're going to call forward the ushers as it is time to move into our